Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have an exquisite treat for you. We are talking about King Arthur, King of the Brits, and how his story, the context of King Arthur, is the context of England. So first we gotta get to the setup. Like what happened to set the stage up for King Arthur, for Arthurian legend. Like all great stories, that starts in Rome. See, the Roman Empire, they expanded and they took over up to about here, Scotlandish area, the border of Scotland and England. And the Romans started believing in this weird thing called Christianity, which spread all across the empire. And it even made its way up to here. So even though these guys didn't quite yet adopt the Latin language yet, they didn't speak Latin, they were Christian. At least in the cities, and soon to be in the rural parts too. Sorry. This is exhilarating, hence the sneeze. So yeah, this whole area is now very Christian. The Roman Empire falls. Connection severs. Roman Empire no longer a thing. The place is now left mostly to fend for itself. And this is getting really close. This is getting where things get interesting. So these guys are Christian. They send a missionary out to Ireland, a guy named St. Patrick. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he converts Ireland. And then shortly thereafter, the Christians are in for a hard time. The Brits all in for a hard way. Have you ever heard of colonization? Like, when there's a semi-side note, these like Germanic speaking people, they come across the sea, they sail westward and they start colonizing this coast on the east coast, and they start replacing the native population through war, marriage, and like, conflict and all that stuff. You think I'm talking about America? No. These guys, they're Anglo-Saxons and Jutes. And that's what they do. They come, they conquer, and they bring with them their religion, which is it's pagan and it's a knockoff Norse gods. So these guys, they have full Odin. These great names that everyone knows from Marvel, or if you're cool somewhere else, How to Train Your Dragon maybe. Now, these guys, they got the knockoff versions. They have, instead of Odin, they have Woden. That's where Wednesday comes from. Weird, I know. Yeah, these guys are pagan, and they start taking over this land. And this is about 200 time period, 200 years. And this is where the context, this is where King Arthur, all this starts happening. This is, things start moving, all right? Act 2. If you will. So, Anglo-Saxons invade. You think these guys just let them sleep, lose their faith, lose their land, roll over and die? No! At least not all of them. Some of them intermarry, but a lot of them start fighting the Anglo-Saxons. They start having bloody wars. Some people, though, they're too scared to fight. So for this 200-year period, we have bloody conflict, and we have refugees. Now, there's like 5, 6-ish Celtic nations. You got Ireland, Wales, Ireland, Scotland, Isle of Man, Wales. The funny Welsh people, they're called Corn Whales because they tell really funny, corny jokes, Cornwells. And Brittany. See, Brittany, the last Celtic nation, wasn't really Celtic yet this time. They were becoming Celtic. The refugees from England, Britain, they start fleeing across the English Channel and they start colonizing this area for the next 200 years during the midst of the conflict. And in the middle of that 200-year gap, there's this great hero in the homeland who is now known as King Arthur. And he was a great Christian warrior who was fighting against the Anglo-Saxon barbarians. and their heathen gods. That's right, he was a champion of Christ, finding the Holy Grail. And stories of him are told on both sides of the channel. Which is weird, like you don't think of that. The story of King Arthur was huge in France. These guys were like, yo, back at home, there's this guy, he's fighting for our people, he's a G. And the Welsh were telling the same stories, because this is live to them. This isn't legend, this is here and now. Sadly though, even Arthur lost. Even though they say he won in a lot of legends, he held him back. No, he lost. England is taken over by the Anglo-Saxons and is now pagan. I know, sad story. Now, how does it get back to Christian? How is King Arthur believed to be English? Like, what's the aftermath? I'm glad you asked. So this is pagan. Remember about St. Patrick, how he's here, he converted this? That comes back to play. You see, St. Patrick was thinking hundreds of years ahead. Irish start converting and migrating to Scotland, and they become Christian in southern Scotland, and they start sending missionaries southward. Meanwhile, the Pope, he's like, yo, this is a bunch of heathen land. I don't like that. So he sends missionaries, and they go northward. And now England is back to Christian. Full circle. So England is Christian, but they're still Anglo-Saxon, and the good times and the chaos is not over yet. There's these guys called the Normans, and they are Vikings that turned French, and they decide to conquer England. It's called the Norman Conquest. Now England's French for another about, I think, 200 years. People in the comments will correct me, but I'm right because as of this posting, there are 0 comments, therefore everything I say is factually true. Because there's 0 comments. Anywho, so this whole area is Frenchified now because Norman Conquest took it over. And you see the French people, they are artistic and they like to read the books. So they start telling stories of the people in this land, of this guy named King Arthur. Now, Arthurian legend and the books they're telling, they're actually not coming from the people here that are telling stories. It's from Brittany. People in Brittany start telling the stories of King Arthur and they get written down and they become really popular, especially because England's France. So stories of King Arthur start being really Frenchified, and like the French people really add a lot of crap to it and they make him French. Like there's even a lot of famous characters. Like there's some people argue Sir Lancelot is a Frenchman. I hope not. I like Lancelot, and my feelings on the French are obvious because they're French. But yeah, Sir Lancelot, French, stories, England, Arthur, big, France. Which is weird, because he's English. But England was part of France. It was like Alaska is to America. Now, the English eventually got their freedom, but the stories of King Arthur continued to get popular in popularity. And instead of being mutated in like the common mind as a defender of England, even though he was a defender of the Brits, the ancient Brits, he hated the English. The people twisted it and they wanted him to be their hero. So Arthur became English. So much so that nowadays in modern shows like The Minions and other things, people are like, oh, the sword of Excalibur. To this day, whoever pulls the sword from the stone will be the king of England. Even though in all reality, whoever pulls the sword of the stone is going to be the natural enemy of the English. Because the English like to have enemies. That's why they had an empire, so they could have more people to fight. And yeah, King Arthur, he hated the English. He hated my ancestors. But I'm also Welsh. So my ancestors hated them too. They hated each other. And then they had me. And there was peace in the land. Arthur.